analyzed. So it's Turkey's education system from the 1940s to 2020s. So we are going to see the video presentation. Ada, is it correct? We cannot hear you. You are muted, so if you can unmute yourself.
Can you hear the video? I can hear you, by the way.
Yeah, we see the screen of the video, so I think so it will be okay. So thank you, Ada.
Starting. Hello, my name is Ada from Turkey, Işık High School. Today I will be sharing my ideas.
At least I cannot hear the sound.
Turkey's education system from 1940s to 2020s. Can you hear now? The outline is as follows. Aims of the article, short preview.
Maybe it could be.
I can hear the sound, Vida.
You can,
Lorenzo? I can, yes. Ada, could you hear the sound of the video?
I can hear the sound of the video.
Okay, so maybe I think it's only you, Vida, that do not hear. So I launch again the video.
Okay, thank you.
Village institutes, after Atatürk era, summary and suggestions. Why this topic, you may ask? As an high school student, I wanted to share my ideas about Turkey's changing education system in this article. The method used in this article is by using the existing data about village institutes, which started in 1940s, and current system about 2020s. Article embodied a structure about education system of Turkey. First of all, questioning and wondering about the past times was an important element to understand today's position in this topic. Also, since middle school, I was interested in reading books about the past, so it affected me to write an article about the past. Secondly, as I learned about the past, I noticed some changes over time and wanted to reflect this in my article. Moreover, as I saw the different ways of the education past and today, articles topics started to appear. Finally, as a high school student, I found some problems in current education system and wanted to share my ideas with people. That's why I chose this topic of Turkey's education system from 1940s to 2020s. Article started with the topic of the village institutes, which was opened in early 1940s to make rural areas flourish by the education perspective of Mustafa Kemal Atatürk, who wanted to change the position of Turkey's education because a few people knew how to read or write and kids in rural areas were not able to reach any material, so it needed to change. Within the beginning of the Turkish Republic, many developments occurred in the education until today. My article contains three main topics: Atatürk's model for the new education, after Atatürk era education, and current education system in Turkey. To define the village institutes briefly, after the First World War, in order to evaluate the newly established republic with the education and literacy, it was established especially in the village circles and started to work with teacher training at first. And then the students were educated from positive science to agriculture courses. And at the same time, it was influenced by debate book discussions as well. There are educational institutions that are closed down due to the political polemisery or political polemics because they have developed themselves culturally, but unfortunately they are closed due to some lies about raising communists after a short period of process. Here you can see a photo of some girls students with their teacher in front of Aksu Village Institute. It also shows that the gender equality in village institutes. Again, there is another photo of a crowd at an area probably for a new village institutes. Also here, kids are constructing their own classes, desks or chairs outside. Here is a music class from a village institute, and here girls are making some pastries or bread, which shows the hands-on learning and hands-on school in village institutes. To talk about my first topic of literature review, even during the war, Atatürk's efforts to convene congresses and work on education shows the importance of he attached to the education. The applicability of education is extremely important, and at the same time, another perspective on the education is that education is not occupied with observant attitudes. The establishment and order to village institutes that I just mentioned provides this education culture. Briefly, the education system in Turkey had to be developed in a way that the education of the vast majority of the people should fit in living conditions, which was mostly rural. Therefore, intellectual forces behind the creation of the program met the needs of the people. Even if Turkey was not in the Second World War, Turkey had economic problems and food shortage. Still, there was still some progress has been made in education. Village teachers have been trained, and preparations have begun for the students. And the students who make their own desks and belongings have brought an innovation to education. A new education has started with training programs that develop both cultural and economic application-based curriculums, like the book discussion hours after school. The pedagogical development of the students also gives ideas about the educational period of this time. Finally, to talk about today's system, even technological changes and the transition to modern agriculture have been affected education, with the forgetting of the old village institute culture and the change of social structure. Several problems have arisen. To briefly talk about these, the difference in the financial situation of the family between private and public schools widens the gap between the students. Another problem is related to the PISA assessment mentioned in this article. While Turkish students are good at transferring information-based memorization, they lack the ability to put into practice in a creative way. The value was quite important. The difference in this point of view reveals the main subject of this article. According to the Andreas Schiller PISA instructor, in today's Turkish education system, rote attitudes is seen as less important in the world now. And at the right side, you can see some projects on enhancing learning. Those are EBA and Fatih Tablet projects. Values changed over time are, while in 1940s educational perspective was to raise open-minded, questioning students, and 8 years later, in 2020s, students are turned into individuals who were trapped in monotonous and rote learning attitudes and could not reach the universal educational value, and they cannot apply what they learned. To give a little example from my point of view, the reason why the PISA results are below expectations is due to the fact that the education model in Turkey is getting more and more worthless. At the end of my article writing, I wanted to share my thoughts and some suggestions, so I did edit this section. First of all, as I mentioned to a large extent of my speech, today's rote education and examination system should be urgently exited and applied. A learning process in which students are more active should be started. Secondly, it should not be forgotten that each of the students is different, and professional groups that will equip the country in all aspects should be trained by being directed to their fields or interests. It is impossible to expect success by imprisoning a student who is interest in music and art in stereotyped formulas, and finally, the inequality of opportunity arising from the education, especially the financial match, should be removed so that Turkish education system can gain more value. I would like to end off my speech by a quote from Atatürk. Teachers, you will train the new generation, the devoted teachers and educators of this republic, and the new generation will be your work. Thank you for your listening and patience. Since I had limited time, I tried to explain everything in a simple way, and I hope I don't create any misunderstanding.
Thank you, Ada, for your presentation. It was interesting to listen to it. And I am glad that finally I was able to hear it. Okay, I wish to ask you, what motivates you the most in your studies?
Thinking about the future, what I'm going to do about university. So I devote my life to study because I want to get in a medicine university.
Okay, I see. The medicine studies are really not easy studies, so probably if you are very motivated and then you have teachers, lecturers who are prepared to work with new generation, then it's really great. So imagine if you be a person who could be in power. So what should be the first step for better education? So imagine that you can use all the tools, all the methods. So what would you do? What would be the first step you do for better education?
First, start to teach students about hands-on learning, not just memorize things like formulas. Because in Turkey, unfortunately, some students are suiciding because of the stress of the university entrance exam or other exams they enter. So I want them to not to stress anything about the education, and doing activities, etc., may motivate them.
Okay, so more practical activities, more activities which could motivate for further studies.
Yes.
Okay, I see. Well, we really hope that this online process, online studies will finish, and then when people will come back